Or a product manager for a navigation application. Think of it like Apple Maps, Google Maps, etc.
Sure.
How would you improve this navigation app further?
Let me just start by jotting. Nav app improve. Can I just ask a few clarifying questions?
Sure.
I guess in terms of timeline, what sort of timeline were you thinking?
We're thinking about 1 year for rolling out this new feature or new improve app.
Okay. And there's different kind of goals or objectives that we could target, like adoption, engagement, something else. Do you have something in mind for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are thinking about increasing the engagement for our existing users.
Okay. Engagement. And I guess like this app, are we talking about like a mobile app or like a desktop web app, or is there a preference? I mean, some of these solutions maybe could affect both as well.
Yeah, makes sense. The platform is primarily like web-based.
Web-based. Okay. Give me a second. I'm going to start by jotting down some potential customers who would be using this app, and then kind of trying to figure out what are their existing pain points, and then start by end by brainstorming some solutions for those pain points. But let me just start by different customer segments who would use like a navigation app, and I'm going to think out loud.
Sure,
right
sounds
on the
good.
board as I do it. Let's do so. Customers. I guess the most obvious one is, I don't know what I am, like an urban resident who uses it to navigate public transport commuters. So like transit commute. So think of it, this is like people living in New York or people living in Chicago, and they want to navigate the bus system or the subway system, and they want to know which routes to take, which ones are in service, what times, how to transfer, all of that, and just best navigate through that. It's probably on the younger side, demographically wise, and they can use it for both commuting, but also errands and other things like that.
Yeah.
On the opposite side, you have people who are car commuters. They're mostly living in suburbs or rural areas. They probably already know how to get to and from their destination, but they may need to monitor traffic or something like that, or maybe they have different routes when they're going to different locations, and they don't know exactly how to get to their location by the best way. These are kind of two of the most obvious types of customers that would be using like a navigation app. I think like you can get more specific. So like this type of functionality could be useful for like professional drivers, like like taxi and limo drivers. Taxi, limo, obviously like ride share drivers. They probably have this open all the time because they don't know where their passengers are or how to exactly get to their passengers. And unless you're like an experienced London cab driver, you probably need the navigation app. There's probably also like if you're navigating like I've actually used this a lot with some of the maps features on my phone, is that when I'm trying to go to a new city or a new or like plan a vacation somewhere, I'll use it just to, not only to navigate on the ground when I'm there, but also to figure out where the locations are on my itinerary that I want to plan out. So I'm going to call that like a tourist customer, or like a travel planner. A lot of this will be done in advance, but also on the ground where you need like the local maps, the local navigation. One other customer segment, always try to think of like these are all kind of B2C type customer segments. You think of like a map application, it would come in use for like not only for the rideshare drivers but the rideshare companies themselves. So like an API behind this like this map service, like that's like call it like tech startups, app developers, small businesses, like maybe even big businesses that need to use the map functionality for some other product or service that they're offering to consumers. I'm going to call that app developers. So I think this is already a lot of customers. I'm going to try and pick one, and then we'll proceed on to like pain points and then solutions from there. I think that for me, it feels like these three are all kind of doing similar things. Like they're just helping navigation. Could be some combination of subway, car. In my experience, I mean, these apps are already some of the best apps out there.
Yeah.
Like Google Maps and things like I use it every day. It's
we hope to believe that we are really good in all these three segments. But
yes,
yeah, go on.
we're already very good. Like, that's like kind of the
perfect
bread and butter core functionality. And maybe I think it'd be kind of interesting to pick like the tourist and travel planner use cases. Like that's I can definitely think of some pain points just off the top of my head that like I've been running into like recently, and I think there's a lot of room for improvement for these apps for choosing the segment. So let me go with that.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let me brainstorm some pain points and use cases. This segment. So if you think about the customer journey of a tourist or someone who's planning their vacation, let's assume I know I want to go to Japan next year. The first thing I need to know is when I'm in Japan, what do I do? Where do I go? What sites do I see? What sites do I prioritize, deprioritize? And that just takes a ton of research. So just the whole planning process, I'm going onto blogs and Google searches and TripAdvisor and Yelp and like review websites and trying to aggregate all of this different information. I want to get local recommendations. I want to get recommendations from like my friends and family who have been to that location. It's just like it's a whole mess right now. There's a lot of disparate sources of information I'm trying to combine, and it's like very time consuming. Once that's done, then I guess you need to, once you have like locations and things picked out, I guess you want to figure out how to structure the itinerary. So like I'll call that like itinerary like structuring. So like what I'm thinking about there is that like do I go to Tokyo first and then Kyoto and then Osaka, or like what order? And then once I'm in those cities, how do I plan out when I'm doing what neighborhoods I'm seeing on which days, where am I doing like dinner versus a museum, are they close together, or like not far apart, like clustering the activities by day, or like just planning out the structure for it. Itinerary structure. Let me see what the marker. But like I don't want to have like too many like hikes back to back because I may be tired or something like that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Once I have like a rough guideline, I think these like go in conjunction as well because you have to plan and structure it together. But then you also have to book.
Yeah.
And obviously booking is a huge pain point just because it's so fragmented right now, and you have to like combine your museum visits and your restaurants and your hotels and make sure that they're all aligned with each other. Once you're on the vacation too, I think you wanna figure out some sort of way, like maybe like sometimes I like to keep a journal. I want to log what I did. So like one tourism use case is like location logging. Did I actually enjoy this location that I went to? Do I want to come back and things like that? And then combined with that, like you can also share with your share photos and stuff with your social network, and that's also a thing that you would do as a tourist. And then that would like help make recommendations for like your friends and families and things like that. That's kind of like I just kind of walk through the customer journey, and I think there's pain points at all of these stages. I think that, and I still have to think about like in context of like this is a navigation app, right? So what can we improve with a navigation app? I think that one of the interesting pain points here is like planning, because I feel like that's the most frustrating part of the vacation planning process.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I was recently traveling and I resonate with the sentiment here. Like planning is a really big task, and one has to like aggregate from different sources and like a lot of information in order to like plan an itinerary. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like I feel like this is less of an issue. Booking's a big issue as well, but like a lot of people have been tackling that already. So like maybe I'll just focus on planning for now. Or what's some solutions for like a planning use case in the context of like a navigation app that we have.
Sure.
So the few things that come to my mind is like that would be really helpful for planning are just recommendations based on there's different factors actually I can use recommendations. So like in like a navigation app, you can star locations that you've been to, and so you can do recommendations. You can do it based on like your past starred locations. So like call it your past activity. And so this, the algorithm could be complex in different ways, I guess. So if I start a bunch of ramen places because I visited them and I know I like ramen, then like our navigation app could just recommend to me ramen places the next time I'm in town in Tokyo. Maybe Tokyo's not the greatest, there's probably a ton of ramen options out there, but like it could just use that. And it'd probably get more complicated after that and use more data using just past activity as an input, especially like if there's like a social network type functionality. I guess I would actually put this a little bit separate, but like you could have recommendations based on friends and family. So the way I think about it is that when I'm planning a trip, I value what my friends say about whether or not they've done something, like some activity in that location. I value that much more than some random blog I find on the internet. They're similar to me, they have similar interests, I trust them. It would be like, every time I ask them, they have to just go through a bunch of past emails or something like that just to get me their itinerary. So maybe I just like, if I could just get like a download or an upload of what my friends have done, assuming they're also using this application and maybe they log it. So like, to summarize that, so it'd be like logging and sharing and importing itineraries from your close social network. So log plus share with friends.
And would this be, what do you mean to say this would be shared within the web-based platform itself? Like there'll be like a separate like link or portal that this is what your friends are recommending?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess
okay.
if I think like if I'm thinking like if you open up the app
Mhm.
and then you could navigate to like a location that you're trying to go to, and then maybe there would
Some
be
kind
like
of a pop-up.
a pop-up that like you want help planning a vacation here,
Got it.
and this could really like improve engagement for customers who are trying to use this product. If they have other friends who are using this, and then you're just like, oh, I can see David's itinerary in Tokyo,
Mhm.
and I can just pull that in,
Yeah.
import it, and then just populate it in like a plan in
Right.
navigation app. Those are like two key ways I can think of, like just like, and like the UX could be a little bit different, but like it can pop up, just show you. There's different ways to pop up and show you recommended things. It could also just be like when you look at Tokyo, and you have like some sort of sponsored content, and then you have a number of other just regular
Mhm.
items that are listed out there. If you search like ramen in Tokyo,
Mhm.
but maybe it could be like a two rows and entries of like David's favorite
Mhm.
ramen place, and then like Josh's favorite ramen place
Got
or
it.
something like that,
Okay.
and then you can keep scrolling down. And similarly for like past activities, we recommend this for you, and then sponsored content, and then the regular list of things. I'm trying to think what else. So I guess in terms of what else would help planning, and I'm not sure if this would really work in a navigation app, but like any sort of instead of recommendations like that are personalized to you, but more like general aggregation could help.
Mhm.
So any service that if we can do some web scraping and aggregate like blogs and review websites and things like that, and kind of like this is the consensus best thing to visit, best 3 things to visit in each city or something like that. So like some sort of web scraping slash aggregation. I feel like that would be more of a challenge. And also it'd be a little bit less personalized than the others.
Mhm.
I'll prioritize these later.
Okay.
And I know we only have 1 year to do this, but like if we like go like farther down the line,
Yeah.
and we go like a big idea, like the optimal scenario is be like, I want to go to Japan. You already know like X, Y, Z things about me. I'm going to input like 2 or 3 more parameters about dates I want to go to. I just want to click one button, show me like 3 packages, and I'll just buy one of the packages. I have it all planned for me. So just like an all-in-one planner. These markers and that was like longer time too. So like you can also do some combination of these as well. Like these 2 recommendations, you can combine them into some sort of algorithm.
Right.
But let's go with these 4 for now. I'm going to try and prioritize it, so then we can focus on one of the solutions. So one kind of quick framework. I'm just thinking about prioritization. I want to think about like how effective is it, or like what's the impact. I want to think about how difficult is it to implement. So like maybe like time to implement, or like cost to implement, or like resources. Resources includes both time, engineering, things like that. I always like to consider risks and trade-offs, and I guess I'll walk through each of them as I go through. But like trade-offs. And so let's just go through each of these. So I think if you have a good recommendation engine, like if you have a good one, like Spotify or Netflix or things like that. They're really just using your past activity as a bar. And like they can be pretty good. I think like Spotify can give you like pretty good recommendations under like the sort of weekly playlists and things like that. So I'm gonna put this like medium or high. Let's put this as high for now. In terms of resources required, this one specifically will be very iterative. So I think that you can do like a naive recommendation based on like, I like ramen, here are ramen places, as opposed to here are like pasta places or stuff like that. But I think to have it be really useful and high impact, I would actually need to look at more holistically like what types of not only cuisines or activities that you like, but also kind of characteristics within those cuisines, like how upscale, low scale is it, how much does it cost, what types of flavors is it, vegetarian versus meat or things like that. Or, but to be really, really impactful, I think it would need to have some sort of similarity comparisons with other users on the platform. And I think that would take a longer time. That would probably take some machine learning to really recommend you good stuff. Like based on your past history, these other users are very similar to you, and then they also visited Tokyo and they went to all these places and they liked it a lot. So like that I think would be high, but like for the initial iterations, if we're doing it just within a year, I think it would be like a medium number of amount of resources just to get the initial product out. I don't think there's actually that many trade-offs for this. Like you could have a bad recommendation every once in a while. It's not a huge deal. There could be trade-offs in that like it's messing around with whatever existing sponsored content that we show, so that like it could be a little bit confusing for the users. But I'm gonna put this as low trade-off or risks. The impact of like logging and sharing with friends, I'm gonna put this as like medium. I think it'd be very useful, but you would need like a significant network for it to actually work and be meaningful. And like you would have to log all your activity, and your friends would have to log all their activity, and they share with you, etc. If combined with this, it could be even more helpful. I don't think this is probably like not that difficult to implement though. Like it's not a complex algorithm or anything like that. So I would say low resources required. And again, medium in terms of trade-offs, because if you do it and none of your friends do it, then like it's like a big challenge to
Understood.
do
Okay.
network. Web scraping and aggregation. I'm going to put this as medium impact. I think it would be helpful just because it is frustrating out there. I'm not sure if it would be like work very well with like a navigation app. I'm gonna put this as like very high on resources. Like this would be a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's not even necessarily like really an easy extension of like the navigation app. And then in terms of trade-offs, I don't think there's like that many trade-offs. You're just providing more information to the user, or like more concise information to the user. So I'll put this as low. And then I think the all-in planner, I think that's the highest impact, or like very high. So
they all engineering resources to like develop that. Yes.
Resources, years. I think just for that reason, like obviously it would be very high impact, and assuming that it's not like one click to buy, you can still review it before you buy it. Like the trade-offs are probably like not that high, but like I think just like the amount of resources will probably eliminate that one for consideration. Based on this prioritization, I think I'm going to go with the past activity because it's the highest impact with like moderate amount of resources and short trade-offs. And so if we go with and just to summarize, so like past activity is like building a recommendation engine based on what you've visited and what you've starred and what you've liked in the navigation app. And so like certain metrics that we can use to measure success for that are like how many users are using this functionality, how often are they clicking on recommendations that are provided to you through this algorithm, how often are they actually visiting like those links that they're clicking on, and like are they rating it or are they liking it when they visit. Yeah, based on, I guess that's kind of my recommendation. Do you have any questions, or should I just go through a quick summary?
Yeah, just before a quick summary, like how would you gauge the success for this past activity based recommendation engine that you're proposing? Like how would you like measure whether this new feature would be a success or not? Right?
Yeah, so I think I would try and obviously it's going to be very iterative, right? We're going to roll it out incrementally. So like one way to do it is you could just set up control and test groups and measure like through A/B tests, so that as you roll it out, you have some segment that is getting this functionality and some segment that's not getting this functionality.
Sure.
And we measure the engagement of users and then users both overall on our application, whether or not they're using our application more, and also specifically on this in terms of are they clicking on these recommendations and these links and are finding those links useful.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we just like summarize.
So
the entire recommendation. Yeah.
Cool. So as a summary, we're trying to improve a navigation app in about a year and trying to improve customer engagement on that application. Ran through a number of customer segments, and I found the like a tourist and travel planner segment very, very interesting for this type of product. I think that specifically within that customer journey, the planning process is the one that can be improved the most. That there's this very fragmented space. It's very frustrating right now, and to improve the planning process, I think customized recommendations based on a user's past activity is something that we can both do within 1 year and improve it over time, but also would have relatively high impact for our customers.
Perfect. Thank you, Will.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, this sounds like a great idea for improving our navigation app. Thank you.
That's great to hear. Yeah. Thank you.